the United States and Canada, speaking at celebrity events to NFL football teams like the Chicago Bears and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he has even inspired millions of people on MTV's hit show Made. Now keep this on the DL, but Mr. Mojo is just like us. He enjoys stupid reality TV shows, sending tons of tweets, taking crazy selfies for Instagram, and of course, he loves to hang out at Walmart in the middle of the night. So I need everyone to turn your mojo on and make some crazy noise for Mr. Mojo.
All right, Milan, listen up. Here's what I want to know. If you guys are ready to do some big things, let me hear you say Mojo up. Hold on now, it's 9:07. You guys got to be ready by now. Listen, this is my first trip to Milan, so I was expecting a little bit more than that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rewind this thing, and I'm going to give you a second chance to make a first impression. All right, here we go. If you guys are ready to do big things, let me hear you say Mojo up. Mojo up! If you're ready to have some fun today, let me hear you say Mojo up. Mojo up! And if you know you look way better than that person sitting next to you, let me hear you say Mojo up. There we go. All right. Well, my name is Mr. Mojo, Travis Brown, and I am blessed with the opportunity to travel all across the United States and Canada. I get to do cool things and speak at cool events and host celebrity events, NFL football teams. I get to do a lot of amazing things, but honestly, what's most amazing to me is my family. Back home in Indianapolis, where I'm from, I got an amazing family. I have a 6-month-old baby boy. I have a 3-year-old little girl. I got a 14-year-old. I got a smoking hot wife, and so life is pretty good. So people ask me then, what is so important that you jump on planes, leave your family, travel? What is so important that you would do that? And the answer is this right here. See, for the next few minutes, we're going to have an important conversation about you. About who you are, about what you do, choices that you make, and the opportunities that you have. See, today's short conversation really is about this. Success is a choice. And that's the good news. The bad news, so is failure. And there's such a thin line between the two about the things that we do that create success and the things that we choose to do that create failure. See, for some of you in here, it's in you right now. You want with your heart and everything in you, you want success. And let's be clear, success looks different for different people. But universally, most of us want a few things. Most of us want to put ourselves in a position that at some point in time that we have a successful family. That we have relationships, maybe better than the ones that you have now. Maybe it's different than the family that you've already encountered. So you have a vision, you want some success there. For some of you, it's career. You want opportunities to have the right type of job and opportunities, finances, and doing things. And so for you, success is wrapped up in that career. For some people, it's faith. You want to have an opportunity to have that great relationship and be inspired that way. And for some people, it's freedom. Freedom to be able to go and to do and to choose and to enjoy life. And all I'm saying is all those things can represent an aspect of success. The question is, are you doing the things now, everybody say now, that put you in a position to be successful later? See, the truth is the work that you put in now basically sets you up for all the successes that you have later. And I can go through a whole list of different things, different industries, different people, and all of them have one thing in common, that they put in some work. So there are some specific things they had to do to achieve that. So I just want to talk through this today. I want to lay this out for you and hope to give you some things that you can think of about what you want to do, how you want to do that. But before we get to the serious stuff, I always like to start off having some fun. Is it cool if we have some fun real quick? Is that the seniors? Or the freshmen? Sophomores in the house? All right. You know what? I'm going to show you some love today. Sophomores making some noise. All right, let's try it again. If it's cool if we have some fun, everybody say it's cool. It's cool. Like, quick show of hands. Raise your hand if you're a good listener. Let me see what good listeners were you. All right, cool. Put your hands down. Raise your hand if you're good at following directions or instructions. All right, right, some of you just got issues. It's all right. So here's what we're going to do. For the next few minutes, Milan, we're going to roll back the clock. We're going to go old school. Everybody say old school. And we're going to play one of my favorite old school games. Now, I do this at every school, every company, and every college I speak at. So I'm going to put you to the test. Here's what's going to happen. For the next few minutes, we're going to play my favorite game. It's called Mr. Mojo Says. It's like Simon Says, but I'm Mr. Mojo. And I want to see how smart and sharp this group really is. Now, there's only one rule for the game. The one rule is that everybody plays the entire time. Everybody say everybody. So listen, once I get you out, and I will, nobody sits down, nobody stops playing, no Mojo haters quit. Okay, everybody plays the entire time. Now, I'm gonna start slow, then I'm gonna pick up the pace. Here we go. First things first, Mr. Mojo says, everybody stand up without talking. All right, let's get it cracking. Here we go. Mr. Mojo says, Mr. Mojo, cross your arms. All right, now I'm looking around, almost everybody has their arms crossed, but if you're paying close attention, you would have heard me say, Mr. Mojo says, Mr. Mojo, cross your arms, not all of you. Rule number 2, I'm Mr. Mojo, not you, so stop tripping and let's try this again. All right, here we go. Mr. Mojo says, cross your arms. Mr. Mojo says, uncross your arms, cross your arms. Slow motion, all right. Mr. Mojo says, put your hands up. Now listen, when I say put your hands up, I want to see the whole armpit. Come on now. Mr. Mojo says, put your hands down. Put your hands up. Some of you doing the wave, it's all right. Listen, Mr. Mojo says, everybody clap once. Okay, this is a country school. Listen, we're going to do it on beat together in a group. All right, let's try it again. Mr. Mojo says, everybody clap once. Mr. Mojo says, clap twice. 3 times. All right, Mr. Mojo says clap once. Mr. Mojo says clap twice. Mr. Mojo says put both hands up. Mr. Mojo says move those hands to your right. Seniors, to your other right. Mr. Mojo says back to the left and back to the right. Got him. All right, everybody put your hands down. Put your... Come on now, come on. I should still see armpits in the air. Let's go. All right, now put your hands down. Mr. Mojo says put your hands down and everybody clap once. Some of you are not good, some of you are not good. Mr. Mojo says clap once. Mr. Mojo says clap twice. Mr. Mojo says put your left hand up. Mr. Mojo says open it, close it. Put your left hand down. See, got some more. All right, Mr. Mojo says put your left hand down, clap once. Same thing, this is repeat. All right, here we go, last one or 2. Mr. Mojo says everybody clap once. Mr. Mojo says clap twice. Mr. Mojo says put your right leg out. Mr. Mojo says and do the stinky leg and do this. Mr. Mojo says stop. Okay, listen, some of you don't ever try that again. Okay, just don't do it, all right? All right, here we go. Mr. Mojo says clap once. Mr. Mojo says put your right hand up. Mr. Mojo says open it. Mr. Mojo says make a circle with it. Mr. Mojo says take that circle, put it on your chin. Girl, why you got it on your cheek? This is your chin. And look, some of you think you're cool because you were like, Jerome. But I saw it. All right, Mr. Mojo says everybody clap once. Mr. Mojo says clap twice. Mr. Mojo says clap 3 times. Mr. Mojo says everybody say Mojo up. Mr. Mojo says everybody sit down without talking.
It's actually easier.
Now, you know I'm not here just to play Mr. Mojo Says, and it's a good thing because some of you got real issues with directions and instructions. But part of this equation, part of this process about success is understanding what's possible. Like what you can do, what you can accomplish. See, some of us have put a box, a ceiling on ourselves that we can only do so much. Some of us don't even believe that. And I'm gonna address that in a second. But understand, I'm not today here to talk to you about something I heard. I'm not I'm not talking about something I thought up. I'm talking about what I know. See, I realized a long time ago, there's a story that we tell ourselves. And the story that we're telling ourselves right now is either why we can, or for some of us, why we can't. And the truth is, every single one of us, there's a whole list of things that we could go through. We call them reasons, I call them excuses, on why we can't. Why academically, we're not achieving what we need to achieve. Relationally, our relationships are jacked up. Friendships, hot mess. Boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, won't even talk about it. See, there's a reason why some of the things that should be important to us, we should handle it the right way, it's kind of messed up. And I'm not telling you this because I have a wonderful, perfect life. Yes, my life now, we're blessed. Wonderful family, financial blessings, opportunities, celebrity stages, cool things now. But it hasn't always been that way. And my story was I did the same thing. I put these self-limiting beliefs on myself. I talked myself into believing, here are all the reasons I can't. Some of you, your reasons are like mine. Some of your reasons are completely different. I grew up, I'm from Lafayette, Indiana. And so I went to a high school that had, a decent rich population. There was the middle class, and then there was us. And us, man, we didn't have a lot financially, just me and my mom. And I look around at my good friends that had big houses, nice things, they could afford stuff that we just couldn't. And I started to think right now, listen, I'm not even as good as they are because I don't have all of that. And it started that story in my head. That I'm not going to be able to achieve, I'm not going to be able to be successful because I don't have the financial means. See, when you grow up in a trailer park, people tag and label you. Call you certain things. Or when you're living in a motel like I did, you're so embarrassed of where you're from that you start to believe that you're not good enough. And see, right now, somebody, that's what you've done. You've decided because of your financial situation that you're not good enough. That's going to be the reason that you can't. But I'm just trying to tell you, that should be the reason to understand that you can. Because there's no one thing that can prevent you from doing what you want to do. So I had to deal with that. I had to learn to overcome that. I had to learn to work through that. And I'm not saying this, bragging. I'm just saying I came from where my mom had nothing. We had nothing. I've made several hundreds of thousands of dollars in years. I've had the houses that I want, the Hummers, the Mercedes, the cars, the Rolex. I have money. I've had all the stuff that I thought is what I wanted. Because I came from a spot that I had to prove that I was good enough. Years later, I realized this stuff wasn't it. But I still was able to conquer that. Still able to get outside of that box and achieve it. For some of you, it's not money. That's not what's holding you back. That's not your story. For some of you, it's your parents' relationship. My parents divorced when I was 2 years old. All my good friends, I would go to their house, their moms and dads were still married, living at the same crib. I thought that was cool, because I didn't have that. Then you know what I started to do? I started telling myself the story that I'm not as good as they are because I don't have what they have. I come from a broken home. And so statistically speaking, the chances of me being successful are less than somebody with two parents. So I started to buy into all that stuff, use it as excuses. Well, if my mom or my dad, if my dad would show up, if he was here, if he was in my life, and all that was a bunch of excuses. Yes, it was real. Yes, it happened. Yes, it hurt. I was a three-sport athlete, baseball, basketball, football. I had 12 varsity letters, played college football. And you know what? There were so many days, all I wanted was my dad to show up. You know what? I thought if I scored a few more points, a couple more touchdowns, then maybe he would show up. But he didn't. And so for so many years, I let that stop me from being the person I wanted to be. So for some of you right now, you have a mom or dad that's not in your life, not in your role, not doing the things. You're watching them. Some of you got parents that are strung out, drugs, alcohol, jobless situations, and it hurts. But you can't let that be the story of why you can't do it. See, what I chose to do is say, in spite of all of that, in spite of those situations, in spite of the reasons they say I can't, I will. I hope some of you get that today. Stop telling yourself the story that you can't. Start telling yourself the story that you can. So some of you, it wasn't that. It wasn't your parents' situation. Some of you, it was you looked in the mirror every day and you just didn't like what you see. You didn't like the person that looked back at you. So when I grew up, I'm a biracial child. I have a white mom and a black dad. I grew up in a school that didn't have a lot of people who looked like me. We had about 5 black people in our whole entire school, which looks to be about 4 or 5 more than you guys have. Come on, that was funny. But here's the thing. I started thinking, well, maybe I can't be it. I can't do it because nobody else looks like me. And you know what that translates to? Nobody else gets me. Nobody else understands me. And I already know. Some of you are walking through the hallways right now feeling like they don't understand me. They don't get me. They don't know what I'm going through. They don't know what I'm experiencing. They don't know the self-image, the value, the worth issues that I'm dealing with. And don't miss this, because this isn't about the color of your skin. This is about what's inside that skin. You think it's about what's on the outside because you think it's about what you look like, what your hair looks like, what your eyes, how much you weigh, how tall you are, what you dress like. You think it's about that. It's not. See, there's a spot on the inside of us right now that we are fighting to believe we are good enough. Fighting to get the person next to you, behind you, in front of you, to accept you for who you are. The truth is, you haven't. I do an anti-bullying talk, and I talk about accepting and respecting people. And almost every day I do this, I'll have some student that walks up to me, and I can't tell you how many times it's been somebody that had purple hair. And they'll come to me and they'll say, but Mr. Mojo, they make fun of me because of the color of my hair. I look at it and I say, but it is purple. And so you did that for a reason. And there's nothing wrong with purple hair. But you did that for a reason. And the reason should have been so that you enjoy it, you like it, forget what everybody else says, what everybody else likes. Instead, you did it to draw attention to yourself and deal with the negative feedback. And here's my point. Love yourself. Respect yourself. Whatever you look like, whatever you feel like, when you look in the mirror, you gotta like that person. See, part of this whole process is you deciding that you're going to reframe, retell your story. You're going to decide what it looks like. You're going to decide where you want to go with it. You're going to decide what it is. See, I'm starting to layer all the different stories that we tell ourselves of why we're not successful if we're not careful. They start governing who we are and what we do. When I did my show for MTV, it was a cool show. How many of you have ever seen MTV Maids before? You've seen this episode? So I did an MTV Maid. I had a kid named Josh, and I flew to North Carolina. I spent a couple months in a hotel working with Josh every day. They're filming, and that whole process is pretty cool and all of that. But here's what was cool for me. It was like I got to pick one student out of an audience, and I got to work with him for about 60 days. And Josh's issue, I mean, he wanted to be a ladies' man. That was the episode. But his issue was he didn't have enough self-confidence, enough self-value, self-worth. And so his struggle was believing in himself, just like many of the things I just laid out. He didn't believe in himself. He didn't have confidence in himself. And I'm talking about not hope type of confidence, I'm talking about real confidence. See, hope is I stand here and I hope I make that shot. Confidence is it doesn't matter, I know I'm going to make the shot. There's a difference. When a team is losing in a game, it's not hoping they're going to come back. It's knowing, believing that we're going to fight and we're going to get it done. There's a difference. So Josh had some hope. He just didn't have real confidence. So my job was to help change him. That's the nature of the show. Help to make him. But here's all I had to do. I had to change the way that he thinks, change the way he speaks, which changes the way that you feel, and changes what you do. You ever want to change anything in your life, no matter what it is, it's a simple process. Change the way you think. Well, how do you do that? You got to be careful what you put in. There's a real important formula you need to know for the rest of your life. It's called junk in equals junk out. So if you're always putting negative stuff in your head, it starts the translation of a lot of negative thoughts. So if you hang around a bunch of people that are always negative, talking about how terrible, awful the situation is, how bad school is, how bad parents are, guess what? You start to think that. You start hanging around people that talk about, they're never going to leave Milan, this is a terrible place, and this is awful, terrible. Then you start believing that same thing. You hang around people that say, this is the best that life will ever be, and it's awful, terrible. All I'm telling you is whatever you put in. And I'm going to slip something in here. I know you guys are going to like it, and it'll bounce off most of you, and some of that is not your friends. Some of that's just the music that you listen to. It's what you put in your head. So you got to be careful what you think. Because what you think then translates to what you speak. So some of you right now, if I just spent 5 minutes with you, I will hear all the negative stuff going on in your life. How bad school is. Your friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, financial situations, future options. You just start talking about that. See, almost every person here has at least that one negative friend, right? How many of you got at least one negative friend? Raise your hand. Okay, listen. So those of you that didn't raise your hand, that's because you are the negative one. Okay? You're that one. And so you got at least one negative friend, right? That every time you get around them, it's too hot, it's too cold. It's too much, it's too little. They're mad because they didn't do anything in class. They're mad because they got too much homework. They're mad because their parents were all up in their business. They're mad because their parents aren't around. They're mad because their boyfriend didn't call. And they're mad because he texted too much. You know what I'm talking about? But here's the alert. When you start having this happen and everything that goes in is negative, everything starts coming out is negative. So watch. It's how you think, how you speak, and then it changes how you feel. So now all of a sudden, you start feeling like that. You're negative, you're frustrated. You take on that feeling. Since this is high school, I'll use this analogy. They call it, in corporate, they call this emotional intelligence. But it kind of works like this. Think about this. If you think it, you begin to speak it, you feel it, even if it's not true, you start thinking about it. So let's just take a relationship. I'm not talking about yours, but let's just take a relationship. We all know at least one person has been in a relationship where somebody was unfaithful, they cheated on somebody, or not, okay? But whether that's ever happened to you or not, here's how that process goes. You start thinking because somebody says to you, hey, do you know what they're doing? Do you know who they're talking to? You start thinking it. Then, what do? You go to your girlfriend or your friend, you start talking about, well, I think this is happening. This is probably going to happen. Then you start feeling like it. Well, then guess what happens? Then you start treating people like it's already happened. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about because that's the process that we go through to think it, to speak it, to feel it, to do it. So how is this relevant to what you do on a daily basis? Any change you want to make. So you walked in here today, you're going through life, everything's cool, but you know you're not achieving the things you need to achieve. You're not giving yourself every opportunity that you should. So what next? You gotta start changing the way you think, change the way you speak, change the way you feel, and change what you do. When I speak to sports teams, that's the process. That's their biggest hang-up. It's not what they can physically do, it's what mentally they can do. And I'm setting this up to you to explain this because let me just turn the corner and tell you, listen, life is real. The struggles, real. The issues in the world are real. And you guys are influenced by a lot of things right now, but you gotta process. Because right now, in our whole media world, you can turn on your news feed or you can scroll through any of your social media and you can see all the negative stuff that's going on. Whether it's simply racial divide in our country, the divide because of Democrats or Republicans, you can see all the challenges, all the issues, and that's real. You can see the economic challenges that some places are facing, that struggle is real. Academic stuff is real. But here's what we got to understand. It all can be temporary. And there's a difference between it being real and temporary. Think about this. Especially like seniors 4 years ago, when you came to this place, you struggle right now to even remember the struggles you were facing back then. You know, if I jump down to freshman, like you go back 4 years from that, like when you were a freshman and you were in 4th or 5th grade, you can't even remember those struggles. If you're in 4th grade, you can't even remember. I mean, like back then, the only thing you had to remember from elementary school is don't eat the glue. And you know what? Some of you failed. But it's temporary, meaning you get to choose. If you want to hang in there, you want to hold on, you want to keep fighting, you want to do something different with your life and your world, you get to choose that. But you got to make the turn. You got to take off the self-limiting beliefs. You got to begin to change your story. You got to begin to do some things differently. So for some of you, that means, can I do it differently? Or better yet, some of you, you're there now, you want to, but it becomes how. Well, I taught you how to change the way you think, but how do we change what we do? Later we're going to work on some of these processes. We're going to break some of these things down. But one of them is about, what is your vision? What do you want to do? I was giving some of the students that were showing me around, I was giving them a hard time about what they're going to do next year and where they're going to go and figuring that out and looking down the road, having some vision. Start making the decisions now that help determine those outcomes. So what do you want to do? What do you want for your life? See, the one thing that motivated me more than anything else in my life was I didn't want to live the same way that I was forced to live with my parents. I love my mom, I love my dad, but I wanted more than that. But I had to know that. So you got to start with a vision of where you want to go, and then you got to have some goals. You got to figure out, how am I going to get there? One of my good friends, I call him the greatest athlete to ever play sports in Indiana, which is a big label. But he's the only Mr. Football and Mr. Baseball in the history of Indiana sports. So I look at some of the greats, and I don't know who else qualifies like that, but his name is Clayton Richard. He's currently on staff with the Chicago Cubs on their pitching staff. But Clayton was Mr. Football and Mr. Baseball in the state of Indiana. He went on to Michigan to play football and then started playing baseball, and great guy. But here's what happened. In the off seasons, about 5-6 years ago, we used to work out together. I know you're looking at me and I'm ripped and all that, and you're trying to figure out how that happened. Well, that was a few years ago, okay? You get old and it doesn't look the same, but I used to work out with Clayton. And we would have all these conversations. I used to ask him this, how did this happen? How did you get here? Like you're doing it on such a high level. And here's what he told me. He said there's a couple things. He said, number one, you got to set extremely high goals. You got to have some vision. You got to set extremely high goals. And he said, here's how you know you have a high goal, right? It's when you tell somebody and they laugh at you. You're not going to do that. Come on. You're going to accomplish that. You're going to do that. See, then people start talking and laughing at you because you set something so high that they can't explain it. And understand this. When you decide you're going to go some places in life, not everybody's equipped to go with you. Some people, you got to let them off the elevator so you can go to the top floor because there's just too much weight for you to go to the level that you want to be at. But here's what he said was, you got to start with high goals. And most people know about goals. We'll talk about them later. SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, recorded, and time sensitive. Yeah, you got to have goals. That's cool. But he said the second thing is that you have to have an action plan. That means you got to have certain steps in place that say, here's how I'm going to achieve it. Most students I work with, I ask them this question, and they have no idea how to achieve the things that they want to achieve. So you got to have some action plan. But here's the kicker. This is the big one. This has always stuck with me, but here's what Clayton said. Here's the difference between good and great. He said the word is called sacrifice. Everybody say sacrifice. Sacrifice. It's sacrifice. See, what you're willing to give up now will always determine what you get later. So that means, if you're an athlete, that means in the off season, how much work will you put in then so that on a Friday night you can achieve this? If you're playing an instrument, how much time do you work when nobody else is around? Nobody else is watching you, so that you can play the way you want to play later. For some of you, academically speaking, it's not what you do on the test, it's all the work you put in before the test. See, there comes a point in time that you're going to have to put some sacrifice. And let me just be clear. I'm a transparent dude. Listen, you're either going to pay now or you're going to pay later. But the price continues to go up. That's why high school is so important. And it's not just once you become a junior or a senior trying to get your act together. Literally, one F, one D can cripple you and make it way more difficult for you to accomplish your goals. You got to start now. And if you've been down that path, you've been failing academically, you got to turn that thing over because you got some work to do. But understand this, no goal is too big. Nothing's too much of an obstacle if you're willing to put in a sacrifice. So what sacrifice are you willing to make? Like, how bad do you want to achieve the things that are important to you? How bad do you want your life to be different than your parents' situation? How bad do you want to have what you think is a dream life? See, the problem is for our generation now is we live in a social media, reality TV culture, which means we see things and we think they're real, but they're not. See, reality TV is not very real, and here's why. Because as soon as you know the camera is on, it changes people. I learned firsthand filming a show. Not because it was scripted, not because it wasn't real, like we weren't going through it real, but it changes you. It makes you conscious of what you say, how you say it. It makes you conscious of the people that are looking at it. The backlash that comes with all the things that you do. See, all I'm telling you is, we look at certain people and we think that's what we want. We think that's the lifestyle. And maybe it is. Maybe that's what you want, but here's what I'm saying. What are you going to do to get there? You scroll through your feed all the time, you're looking at how great somebody else's life is, and you're looking at their highlight film, and you're frustrated about your behind-the-scenes actions, and they don't measure up. So for some of you, it's a simple thing to decide today, what am I going to do? What steps am I willing to take to get to where I want to go? And what sacrifice is there? Remember, sacrifice is what I walk away from today will always determine what I walk into tomorrow. Another version of that is who you walk away from today will determine who you walk in tomorrow. Some of you will understand that. Some of you have relationship issues and challenges, and you just need to walk away from somebody. Because the person you walk away from now, that ain't the one. If you don't walk away from them, you won't walk into the one. Man, I hope some of you are catching some of this. I hope you're starting to think about this, because this is what's in front of you. I've been here, I've been through it, I've been in your seat. I know what it's like to think about these things. I know what it's to think about it's not that important, and realize I wish I could go back. Because that's my hope. My hope for you is that you don't have to experience so much I wish I hadn't. Wish I'd experienced that. Wish I'd studied more. I wish I'd put more energy into it. I wish. Somebody asked me, if you could tell a high school student one thing you would do different. If you could just tell them one thing that you would do different. Now remember, I was an athlete, 12 varsity letters, sports was my thing. I played college sports, and that was my life and my world. You know, I told him, I said, I wish I would have spent more time on my academic future than my athletic future. Because I'm 39 years old, I'm old, I have no eligibility left, I can't hardly play anymore. This summer I played in Paul George and Robert Mathis' celebrity softball game. Dove for one ball, hurt my shoulder, was out for like 4 months. I'm old, okay? Doesn't work like it used to. So what I wish I had done is decided when I was your age that I wanted a future. That I wanted to put in work. That I wanted to do the things then to create the opportunities for later. And so the last thing I just want to tell this group as a whole, from the freshmen to the seniors, is take every opportunity that you have to achieve the things that you want. Because there comes a point in time, some things, there are no do-overs. Some things are, man, I wish I had it. You don't want that. So decide today. Decide, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm willing to give up? What is it that's so important to me that I'll begin to sacrifice most things in my life, in my world, so I can give myself a life that most people, they'll never have? Because I'm telling you, when you start doing that, you start controlling your destination, you can do those things. See, my family now, we can go on vacation. We can live in the house we wanted, in the area that we wanted to. We can have the things, we can have the stuff. We can do all those things that most people think are cool and that are success. We can do it. Why? Because we put in some work. I challenge you to think about putting in some work. Now, I close all my messages the same way, so if everybody can stand up real quick, stand up. All right, I got to get you guys ready to go out this day with a bang, ready to do this. So listen, I need you to repeat after me. Say, I can be. I can be. Oh, hold on a second. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put this on social media so you can, yeah. So this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna video this, then I'm gonna put this out here. And you guys, it's gonna look like either you guys are doing it big in Milan or I just put you on blast. It'll be up to you. Hey, this is Mr. Mojo. I'm at Milan High School here in the middle of nowhere of Indiana. And I got Milan in the house. All right, here we go. Repeat after me. Say, I can be. I can be what I wanna be. What I wanna be. As long as I see. As long as I see. Say all my possibilities. Say success is my choice. Say I'm in control. I control my thoughts. I control my words. I control all my actions. Say I am a leader. Say I lead me first. Point to your neighbor, say I lead you next. Say, because I believe in me. Point to your neighbor, say I believe in you. Say I'm all in. So right now, come on, stop tripping. Say right now, I turn my mojo on. I turn my swag up. I brush off all my haters. Say, because I'm a mojo maker. Repeat after me and say, I will protect this house. And I will mojo up. Say mojo up. One last time, say mojo up. My name is Mr. Mojo. Be a leader, take a stand, and make a difference. Give yourselves a round of applause.